Monaco Diamond League, coming to you with a full recap of the sprints, the jumps, and the hurdles from this Diamond League. This, in my opinion, definitely lived up to my expectations based on some of the performances we saw, the head-to-head matchups, the results. A lot of things really did turn up to be very, very good. And I'm going to dive into, again, each of the events on the sprints, jumps, and hurdle side. Check the timestamps below for the men's 200, the women's 400 hurdles, the men's triple jump, etc., if you want to skip forward. Let's dive in. Men's 200, of course, was one of the highlights because we had Noah Lyles going up against Letsile Tebogo, and Noah Lyles got the win. 19.88 seconds. And this was a pretty masterful performance. Tebogo was second in 19.97 seconds. Now, let me not say masterful in like it was super dominant, but because Noah Lyles was coming back from injury and he had not competed in about 3 months, up to this point since April 2025, this was really, really exciting. We saw Letsile Tebogo actually get an explosive start from the gun, but Noah Lyles about 50 meters into, around the curve, he then, held his own and started to pull away. And once they came off the curve, Tebogo actually did challenge him just a little bit, kind of midway through the straight in the last, 80 meters or so, but after that, like the last 50, Noah was gone and he got it. Again, 19.88 seconds. Tebogo kind of like eased up the last 2 to 3 meters. And, we saw Maka Charamba. He actually almost beat out Tebogo, 19.99. But Tebogo basically, saw that he wasn't going to beat Noah and he just kind of eased up at the end. But man, this was exciting. This was very exciting because, again, Noah Lyles was coming off of injury. He had not competed since April. And so there were question marks around what he was going to be capable of here. But everyone did have the idea that if you were stepping into a race with this high quality field, then you probably know that you're in some good form. Now, I saw an interview where he said that this was the only race he could have competed in because there was no other meets on the calendar. Listen, Noah, he could have gone to the Ed Murphy Classic. They will set up, just like they do for Sydney, they could have set up a race for him. But he knew that he was in good form. And what I liked about this race from Noah is that he was able to maintain his composure despite, having Letsile Tebogo challenge him a little bit down that straight. He knows that Tebogo had just ran 19.76. He knows that Tebogo is a little bit stronger in terms of speed endurance in the second half of the race, but he maintained that composure that I even think back to 2019 at the World Championships where he was, behind coming off the curve at the Worlds, but you can see like he is able to maintain his focus, maintain his form, and that's the mark of a true competitor. So shout out to Noah Lyles, being able to get the win here. Letsile Tebogo, 19.97 seconds. Again, he was very explosive from the start, but once he saw he wasn't going to win, kind of eased up in the last 2 to 3 meters. Not that it would have made a difference, right? He would have run like 19.95 if he ran through the line or whatever it is. But I think the thing that's interesting is he's also coming off injury and then ran that 19.76. So it's interesting to kind of compare the two and look forward to how will the World Championships go, where Noah Lyles, he's a defending world champion. Tebogo, he's a defending Olympic champion. Tebogo, he now has the world lead at 19.76, but Noah Lyles, he's, getting back into the form, running 19.88, showing he's in some excellent form. This is going to be very interesting as the narrative continues to be set, getting closer to the World Championships. In the preview, I had said that if Noah runs anything from 19.8 or better, I think that he is probably going to be the favorite going into Worlds, and especially if he beats Tebogo. I thought they would both run a little faster, but him beating Tebogo here, in my opinion, keeps or repositions him as the favorite for the World Championships because we know him as the 3-time world champion. And yes, he lost the gold medal at the Olympics, only getting bronze last year, behind Letsile and Kenny. But if he's able to once again come back from injury, maintain his composure against Letsile Tebogo, against Jeremy Richards, Alex Ogando, Maka Charamba, right? Against some of the guys who are going to be in that 200-meter final, then it's hard to say that he's not the favorite. Now, let's be very clear. Tebogo still has the world lead. He's a defending Olympic champion. So this isn't like a clear cut, like, oh, Noah Lyles is going to win the gold medal. It's like, nah, like that's not it. I just think he has a slight edge when talking about, all right, who would you pick to win the gold medal at the World Championships? We had a head-to-head here, and I got to pick Noah at the moment. But, we'll see how the season does progress because Tebogo is dangerous. Letsile does not want to lose at the World Championships this year. Even in the press conference, he actually said the focus is the 200, though he will also be running the 100. So he knows he wants to get a World Championship gold. he's not going to let Noah Lyles stop him. So we'll see how that does play out. Shout out to Maka Charamba for getting under the 20-second barrier as well. He's looking to make that final at World Champs, maybe spoil the party, get on that podium. So we'll see how that plays out. Also, this was run into a headwind, negative 0.8, but that does speak to Gout Gout. Gout Gout was in this U23 men's 200 race, and he got the win here in 20.10 seconds into a headwind of negative 1.9 meters per second. Now, there were headwinds across the board in all the events, but this was a pretty strong one. I'm really impressed with this performance. Let's be clear with that first, actually, because this essentially means he could have run sub 20 if the wind was flipped in the opposite direction. On top of that, he got a good challenge from Kebanat Shippy, who ran 20.28, as well as Naeem Jack, who ran 20.42. Kebanat Shippy was probably even, if not maybe a step or two ahead of Gout Gout when they came off the curve and entered into the home straight. Jack was also in that mix as well, but Gout Gout, he has one of the best kind of, second halves of the 200 that we've seen from any athlete, of course, in his realm, in this age group right now. He is on one. In his post-race interview, he actually spoke about how he wants to work on that first 100 meters of his race to improve running around that curve, to get a better position, so that when he gets in that home straight, he's able to just go straight to that finish line and really execute. So I'm excited to see how he does progress. He maybe has a few other races, but then, of course, he'll be at the World Championships. But what's interesting, and this is a part that gets me a little disappointed, because the broadcast had said that his agent, his coach, they were all there in Monaco, and they were hoping to see a sub 20 race from Gout Gout. I mean, yes, but then if you were in that pro 200 meter race, he would have run sub 20, in my opinion, because he would have gotten a little more competition. Now, let me be clear. This isn't me saying he 100% should have been with the pros and he's ducking, and to me, I'm not subscribed to that, but I do think it's just interesting when they say, oh, we were hoping he'd run sub 20, but then if you would have been in that other race, you would have run sub 20. So I don't know. Again, I can always see both sides. Working on his development, don't want to rush him, but the races are here, so who knows? We'll see how he does actually progress. Shout out to Gout Gout in that 200. Check out my other channel. I'm going to have another more in-depth video about Noah Lyles and Letsile Tebogo, probably coming tomorrow or the next day. So definitely stay tuned for that. Link in the description to check out the channel. But let's move over. Women's 100. This wasn't too crazy in terms of overall competition or head-to-head, coming off of Prefontaine. But Julien Alfred continues her consistency, her dominance, 10.79 seconds into a headwind of negative 1.4 meters per second. That's the third time that she's run 10.7 this year. That's the second time that she's run 10.7 into a headwind. I mean, Julien Alfred is so consistent across the board. And she didn't even have a really great start. Jasa Sears, who came second in 11.02, she had the explosive start, whereas Julien Alfred was a little bit, a few steps behind. But Julien Alfred in that second half of the race, and she looked like she was working, but she essentially just pulled away from the field to run this 10.79. I know that Julien Alfred was definitely disappointed after finishing second place to Melissa Jefferson Wooden last week at Prefontaine. So she wanted to get a win here. And again, I think she really delivered. 10.79, the third time that she's run 10.7 seconds this year, but it's also the fifth time that she's run 10.7 in her entire career, between this year 3 times and twice last year. On top of that, she's now run 10.7 3 times into headwinds. Her personal best, 10.72 at the Paris Olympics, into a negative 0.1. This 10.79 into a negative 1.4. And then last week, 10.77 into a negative 1.5. So listen, the wind just sometimes does not cooperate for Julien, but it shows that she is consistent and a true 10.7 runner at this point. Now, Melissa is looking good in terms of her consistency as well. So we're just gearing up for another clash at the World Championships. Once Melissa makes the USA team, which she seems on pace to do. But when we're talking about Jasa Sears, Jasa is looking like probably the second best 100-meter runner in the United States right now, and probably the edge-on favorite to finish behind Melissa Jefferson Wooden at USA's. Now, let's be clear. TT Terry has run 10.8 this year. Aaliyah Hobbs has run 10.8 this year. Tamari Davis has also run really fast. So it's going to be tricky. I'm not saying that Jasa Sears is a lock for the team, but she is looking to be in some good, consistent form and finishing at either the top or, amongst the top women when talking about the 100, especially in the second half of the season as the USA's has been approaching. So shout out to Julien and Jasa Sears and all the other women. But outside of that, the women's 400-meter hurdles, in my opinion, was probably it might have been the race of the meet for me in terms of one of the performances. Now, let's like build this up because Dalilah Muhammad went crazy to me. Femke Bol, 51.95 seconds, meet record, world leading performance, just ahead of Sydney's 52.07 that she had run at the Miami Grand Slam track meet. I think that Femke Bol is in the driver's seat for the 400 hurdles, but she's hoping that Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone does not run the event this year. Sydney is still deciding what she's going to run. Check out the video that I did on that as well. But she's hoping because Sydney ran 52.07 back in, what was that, the end of, or the beginning of May. And now Femke has run 51.95. So just about a tenth or so ahead of what Sydney did. Now, everyone is in different training cycles. Like there's differences between each athlete, but obviously, I think most of us can agree Sydney is worlds ahead of any athlete, including Femke. Femke is the defending world champion, so she wants to defend her title, but it's going to be tough if Sydney is running. But if Sydney is not running, Femke is in that driver's seat, and she is looking very, very good. And what I like about Femke is she's just so consistent in these 51s now. This is the 6th time that she's run under the 52-second barrier, and she actually has an average 400-meter hurdle time, a top 10 average of 51.77. So she is really, really consistent, really, really good. She's been improving and working on things over the past couple months as we lead into the 2025 season. Remember, she skipped the indoor season, but we remember last year, trying to really run with Sydney. She came up a little bit short and, ended up with the bronze medal. Shout out to Anna Cockrell, who Anna Cockrell is one. I'll talk about her in a second, who did amazing. But, Femke Bol, she is on one, but I think the key is that she is hoping that Sydney doesn't run so that she can kind of get another gold medal. But the performance for me here, the performance of the meet, I'm going to be honest, is Dalilah Muhammad. Dalilah Muhammad, 52.58 seconds for second place behind Femke Bol. That's the second time that she's run 52 seconds this year. That's her fastest time since the Olympic Games in 2021. And that's the 5th fastest time of her entire career. The only performances for Dalilah that are ahead of this 52.58 here are her 2 world records, 52.16 and 52.20 from back in 2019, her 51.58 personal best from the Tokyo Olympic Games, and then also her 52.42, which she ran at the Olympic trials in 2021 behind Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. This is one of the most immaculate performances. It improves upon her age 35 Masters, world record that she set earlier this year, 52.91. Listen, Dalilah Muhammad, in my opinion, she is on pace to not only run 51 seconds again, but she is potentially on pace to win a medal at the World Championships this year. Now, I'll talk about that in 1 second, but Anna Cockrell, 3rd place, 52.91, season's best for her, getting under the 53-second barrier once again. This is her 6th fastest time of her career. I mean, she's in some good form, and when I'm looking forward to the USA Championships, if Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone doesn't run, right? If she runs, it's a whole different ball game. You have, 2 spots behind her. But if she doesn't run, things get very interesting. But I think that Dalilah Muhammad and Anna Cockrell are the only 2 women who are really looking solid for the team, in terms of, all right, I'm confident about these 2 making the team. They're the 2 fastest Americans behind Sydney. They also have the fastest times behind Sydney as well. Again, only women to go under the 53-second barrier, with Sydney. So they are looking the most consistent. But then Dalilah is looking a little more consistent than Anna because, again, she's run faster than Anna here, right? 52.58 to 52.91. Dalilah's second fastest time is 52.91 from the Stockholm Diamond League. So she's already matched Anna in terms of that aspect there. They both train together, so they know, where both of them are at. And they're probably motivating each other to say, yo, let's make this team together. Now, on top of that, when we look at the rest of the USA field, you have someone like Rachel Glenn, who's run 53.73, but she didn't run at NCAAs. I'm not sure on her status right now, so TBD. You have Kayla Garrett, 2nd place at NCAAs, but she's over a second behind any of the, or at least Dalilah Muhammad here. Anna Hall, she's not running the 400 hurdles at USA. She's focusing on the multis. And then you have Jasmine Jones, right? She'll get back into form, and I think she will, probably be maybe a solid 3rd spot, but, she'll have to get closer to her personal best to beat out someone like Dalilah Muhammad here. So the point is, I think looking at this landscape, Dalilah Muhammad, Anna Cockrell, Kayla Garrett, right, Jasmine Jones, right, those are the 4 women who are looking like the team. Sydney, if she runs, it makes things complicated, but that's who I'm looking at. And then when we're talking globally, because I think Dalilah Muhammad can get on the podium, Sydney and Femke, those are the only 2 who are ahead of Dalilah. Then you do have Savannah Sutherland. She also is ahead of Dalilah with her 52.46. She got 7th place at the Olympics last year. But Dalilah is consistent, man, and she has the experience. Listen, Dalilah is looking good. Obviously, I'm going to shout out Dalilah whenever I get a chance, but she's looking very consistent right now. Hopefully, when I see her make that USA team. Let's move over, finish things off with a few other events. Women's 400, Paulino versus Aaliyah Butler. Paulino, 49.06, Butler, 49.09. This was a race to the line. Butler was out fast and led basically, 395 meters until Paulino just nipped her on the line. And she really made Paulino work for this, but to me, this proved why Marlita Paulino is still the most dominant 400-meter runner of, the year, and of course, this current kind of generation in a sense. She had to work for the win, but she is going to do what's necessary to actually grab the win. 49.06 is the second fastest time of the year for her, right? She ran 48.81 already. And yes, she was drastically behind Aaliyah Butler, but she worked and got the actual win at the line. She did whatever it took to get that win. And I think one thing that's really interesting is these athletes, in terms of Paulino and Butler, they're on different, trajectories when talking about the year. Aaliyah Butler has to be ready and on point for USA's in just about 2.5 weeks' time. Marlita Paulino is only focused on Worlds, so their training schedules are going to be significantly different. So Aaliyah Butler sets a personal best here, 49.09, whereas Paulino, she's probably working towards September as opposed to like, all right, I got to be ready in a few weeks. So I want to keep those things in context as we look at the performances here. And just, I think Paulino being so dominant, I don't know if the tables were turned where Paulino was so far ahead. I'm not sure anyone else, whether it's Butler, Nikisha Price, or whoever, I'm not sure they would have been able to run down Paulino because she has so much experience. So just want to provide that little bit of context there. But along with that, Butler, she's going to have some competition at USA's. She's looking maybe like the edge-on favorite, but you have someone like Isabella Whitaker, who's also run, 49 seconds a few times this year, right? Both Butler, and Isabella Whitaker have been consistent in the 49-second range. You have Gabby Thomas, who's run 49.1. She's not running the 400 at USA's. Lena Irby-Jackson, probably the third best right now. Alexis Holmes is in that conversation, but like I said before, if Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone runs that 400, whole different ballgame. But Aaliyah Butler, Isabella Whitaker, those are my two kind of consistent athletes for the USA 400 right now, with Lena Irby-Jackson, just behind, and then Sydney is that wild card. So we'll see how that plays out. But shout out to Nikisha Price, 49.63, and Natalia Bukovetska, 49.72. Both of them making steady progress. Just like I said with Paulino, they're only focused now on Tokyo. Price already qualified for Team Jamaica, so she's set. Natalia, she's also set for Poland. So they are all focused on Tokyo, and I think they're going to make some slow and steady progress. I'm excited to see how that does play out. Let's move over. Women's 100-meter hurdles. This was exciting. Megan Tapper, 12.34 seconds, equals her personal best that she set just a few weeks ago at the Jamaican National Championships, and it's her first Diamond League win of her entire career. And she's been competing at Diamond League since 2016. I think the Lausanne Diamond League that year was her first time on the Diamond League circuit. And this was run into a headwind of negative 1.1 meters per second. Megan Tapper is on one right now. On one, equals that personal best. I am loving the consistency from her right now, and she is right in medal contention, just like all the other women. Ditaji Kumbunji, she just ran 12.43, her second fastest time of her career, only behind 12.40 that she ran at Euros last year. So she is right in the conversation. Behind them, Nadine Visser, Masai Russell, 12.56 and 12.57 respectively. Masai is getting back into form after some injuries, but who knows what's going to happen when we get to USA's. Grace Stark was in the race here, but she hit hurdle 3, and then that kind of threw off her momentum, and she was out of it at that point. But again, she's going to be competitive. All these women are going to be very competitive. Add in Akira Nugent, right? Add in, Daniel Williams. Add in all these women, Toby Amisan. Like, this is going to be a competitive field, but all these women are in that conversation. Shout out to Megan Tapper in this race. Men's 110-meter hurdles, Trey Cunningham, clear win, 13.09 seconds to get the win over Cordell Tinch, who ran 13.14, and then three guys at 13.17. Jacoby Tharp, Racha Muratake, Dylan Beard, right? All of them kind of blanket finish for that third, fourth, and fifth place here. Trey Cunningham is looking consistent, and he looks like he is going to be getting a spot on Team USA to the World Championships this year. He's run 13 flat on 2 occasions already. So, I mean, the consistency is across the board, where he won the Grand Slam track meet in Miami. He got second in the hurdles at the Philly Grand Slam track meet. He won at the Adidas Atlantic City Games. He won in Paris, the Paris Diamond League a few weeks back. So he's looking really good. And Trey is on one. He wants to get under the 13-second barrier, and he wants to get onto the World Championship team once again. So look out for Trey. Look out for all these guys. Grant Holloway, again, pulled out of this meet. We'll see how he does kind of progress. But because he has the wild card, that does make it a little bit easier for the men's 110-meter hurdles. Cordell, Jacoby, Dylan Beard, but then you also have Daniel Roberts, you have Freddie Crittenden, you have Eric Edwards, you have Jamal Britt, like so many guys in the field for the United States, but it's going to be exciting. Shout out to Muratake right in the mix as well. Finally, men's triple jump. For me, this was good. Jordan Scott. He got the win in 17.52 meters, a personal best on his final jump. That actually improved on his previous personal best set in round 5 of 17.44 meters. That improved on his previous personal best of 17.34, which he set earlier this year. Jordan Scott is absolutely on one right now, and this is his 3rd Diamond League win. He beats out Tricky, who jumped 17.23. He beats out the Olympic bronze medalist in Andy Diaz-Hernandez, who jumped 17.19. Andy also had jumped 17.8 this year already. I think he jumped it at the World Indoors. So listen, Jordan Scott getting a win here and jumping personal best so consistently, this is getting dangerous. And I'm inclined to say that he probably is the edge-on favorite. It's very interesting because we haven't seen, this is Andy's first Diamond League jump competition of the year. We haven't seen Jordan Diaz-Fortune, right, the Olympic champion. He hasn't jumped all year. Pedro Pichardo, he's already jumped, but he pulled out of this meet, so not sure of his status. So it gets tricky because there are guys who are capable of jumping farther than Jordan Scott, but he beat out the Olympic bronze medalist. He beat out Hughes Fabriz-Zango, the reigning world champion, right? He beat out some strong guys, and he's consistently winning Diamond Leagues. I mean, I don't know. Jordan Scott, to me, slight favorite. But anything can happen when we get to the world champs in this triple jump. This is going to be very, very competitive. Last one I do want to say is shout out to the men's high jump. Sang-Gyak Woo, he got the win in 2.34 meters, equals the world lead that Oleg had set a few weeks back, or actually during the indoor season, during European indoors. But Woo, he's looking good. He's looking consistent. He did take a few jumps at 2.37. When I was looking at it, I was like, whoa, that's high. It again, brought me back to the days of 240, but all those. Woo, and then also Jan, he was really good with his 2.32. Shout out to Javon Harrison, season's best, 2.27. So, the progress that he's been making, but high jump is always a competitive event. But that was just the Monaco Diamond League recap all across the board. This was very exciting. We have the London Diamond League next week. We have USA's in about 2.5-3 weeks. We have a lot to look forward to. Again, check out the video I did about Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone and her decision around the 400 hurdles. She's going to be running the 400 tomorrow in Tennessee. Also, check out the video I did about Christian Coleman. And then tomorrow, I may have a video about Noah versus Tebogo and their prospects going forward. Again, link in the description. But let me know what you thought about the Monaco Diamond League. Did this live up to your excitement or to your expectations? Letsile versus Noah, Julien Alfred, Femke, and Dalilah. Let me know what you think. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Always truly appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.